telling you about what Conversations with Esther does, and introduce the speaker in a few, so that I can see time is already flowing. We are at 6 minutes past 7. So Conversations with Esther is an impact-driven professional platform that transforms your views on matters mental health, human source, legal, and your holistic wellness. So we ignite ethical and authentic leadership while prompting best practice within industries. Conversation with Esther equips you and the workplace with relevant legal, human source, and holistic wellness skills through corporate training, motivational talks, end-to-end HR consultant support, career mentorship programs, guided by our 3 values, which is integrity, excellence, and impact. We envision a workplace transformed by professional conversations, respectable relationships, and intentional leadership. Next page. So, our conversation tonight is about women and careers. How are we climbing the corporate ladder? So women in the 21st century are no longer asking for a seat at the table. And I'm sure that when I look at the participants tonight, 98% are women. So climbing the corporate ladder today means navigating bias, breaking glass ceilings, and redefining leadership on their own terms. It is not just about representation, it's about influence, equity, and shaping the workplace culture for the next generation. The climb is real, but so is the impact. So with that, allow me to introduce our speaker tonight, who is none other than Esther Katiba. So Esther is a certified human source practitioner. Esther is a certified human source practitioner, trainer, author, motivational speaker, and mentor, a certified mental health coach and legal practitioner with over 20 years of experience championing organizational well-being, workplace policies, organizational culture, and intentional leadership. She's passionate about She's passionate and relentless about ethical leadership and has come off very boldly to address workplace challenges while providing relevant solutions across different industries. Her fearless leadership style and muscle to drive change across the corporate circles have won her local and global awards. So Esther is as well married with 2 lovely daughters. Allow me to welcome our award-winning speaker in Esther Katiba. Karibu sana Esther.
Thank you very much, Jay. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Hi, everyone. Let's go to the chat. Let's go to the chat. How are we doing? Hi, how are we doing? Let's have a chat there. Let me look at that. Hi, Nairobi, looking forward to picking a growth strategy for my career. That's Esther Wangai. Hi, Esther, joining from Thika, Munga, Jay, and the rest. Now, tonight we talk about, as I put this up, yes, just a minute. Excellent. I hope we are good to go that way, Jay. So tonight, you are good. Thank you, Jay. Women and careers climbing the corporate ladder. Climbing the corporate ladder. Now, as Jay has read through, I'm excited about this topic. Now, women in the 21st century, as Jay has said, are no longer asking for a seat at the table. We, Jay, can tell you, Jay, we are telling you that we women are building new tables entirely. We are taking it by force. And I want to move to the next slide. Right there, women and careers climbing the corporate ladder. Look at that lady. Amazing. You know, it's a win. Yeah, it's you win or win. So you must win and you must celebrate it as a woman as you move into the next phase. Now, I picked this very quickly before I got into the session, and I saw something that says key statistics and progress ranking. Kenya ranks first among African countries, and we need to clap for ourselves for this, for women's representation in boardrooms, holding at 19.8% in earlier reports and rising to 36% by 2021-2024 in subsequent studies. That's a great improvement. However, 19 to 36, so 100 less 36, the balance is still with the men. Comparison, Kenya's board gender diversity of 36% is well above the global average of 23.3. So we are doing well. We are not there yet, but we are doing well. Public versus private, women occupy 37% of C-suite roles and 21% of board chair positions in Kenyan firms. Okay, compared to global averages of 21 and 3% respectively. Not badly off. Listed companies, the Nairobi Securities Exchange has seen a steady increase with representation rising from 12% in 2012 to over 36% in 2021. Top performers in this, several firms such as EABL and Safaricom have surpassed the 40 to 50% female representation in senior leadership or board roles. That is good news for us. So as we move on, it's going to be more, and I told Jay, it's going to be more of a training today. Then we can have the questions. Now, the 21st century has seen a significant shift in women's participation in the workforce, and we do know that very well. We're going to look at very different reasons why this has changed. More women are entering professional fields, amazing, attaining higher education and stepping into leadership roles than ever before. However, progress is uneven and barriers still exist. Now, there are key trends in this increased representation in professional and managerial roles. But look at the second one, growth of women in STEM and entrepreneurship. Now, I know some of us have children doing a CBE. It's not CBC anymore. We are still saying, some of us are still saying CBC. It's CBE. Now, when you get into CBE, you realize that STEM, a lot of the ladies and the young girls are going into STEM. That means they will do the sciences. They will be the engineers, the doctors, the AI and robotics engineers and all that. So women have moved and shifted into that. And when I look at online platforms, you realize that funding and open opportunities, global opportunities, tend to pivot towards women who have this STEM, STEM skills. So it is important that we look at the trends. It may not be for me as Esther today, but it may be for my daughters that are moving in that direction. Now, entrepreneurship, I noticed something about as I was doing the study for this. Now, limited companies, very few are owned fully by women. If you do your research. Now, women tend to go for sole proprietorship in businesses. When it gets to entrepreneurship, most women will go for the lower scale businesses. They're looking for the sole proprietorship where I'll open a small shop and do it by myself. than in bigger partnerships and big investments. And not that women cannot do it, but I think sometimes we shy away from these bigger tasks. Now, rising visibility of women in executive leadership, though still underrepresented. Now, more women, there are milestones that more women are earning university degrees than men in many, many countries, which is a very good sign. And that means that we are heading in a direction where the representation of women in boards and top leadership is going to increase. You see, when you see a woman on social media that is a CEO, successful CEO, I mean, that video will trend because we still have at the back of our minds a mentality that this woman, you know, it's a unique woman. This woman, how did she get there? So we need to get that off and know that if you have what it takes, you have the qualifications and competencies, you need to put your foot and get yourself into the boardroom. Push yourself into the boardroom. The boardroom is not for specific or I know there's a place we're going to talk about masculinity where people think that leadership has to do with a man. Now, that is a culture that we have. Now, expansion of policies, which is very good, and in your institutions, this needs to be done. Expand your policies to support gender equality. We have paternity leave, I'm aware, in this country, maternity leave, and the others. Anti-discrimination laws that will help you now give women an opportunity. I don't know if Jane Mutisia is in the room, but Jane is big on transitioning and closing the gap for women who have career gaps, which is a very good thing because that now strengthens the woman to bounce back into the workplace. Now, increased advocacy for equal pay and workplace inclusion. Now, when I put this down, I remembered an incident where I was sitting in a panel and one of the panelists made a comment and told a lady that she does not, the guy was trying to convince the lady that she doesn't need a very high pay because she has a spouse who can take care of the needs. Now, that is a mentality because when the woman comes to the interview, she doesn't come with a spouse as a package. It's not the spouse that will be working. It's not the spouse's income that we are discussing. The woman comes as a competent person, whether with a spouse or not, but she comes in as a competent person. On the table are her papers, her qualifications, and why she deserves a better pay. Now, that is a very serious comment, and of course, I dealt with it on the spot. But it is important to know that a woman deserves an equal pay for the job done. Culture sometimes dictates and environments dictate, and you will see a man can get paid higher for a job, the same job that a woman is doing. Now that needs to be addressed through policies and advocacy for equal pay and workplace inclusion. Now, despite this progress, women remain underrepresented in the C-suite roles. Gender pay gaps persist globally, not just in Kenya. The gender pay gaps are huge globally. Now, leadership pipelines still favor men in many industries. We are doing our best to say, let's try to balance. I attended a meeting the other day and 70% of the delegates, there were 70 actually in number, 70 of them, I think the ladies were 4 or 5. Now, in such settings, the board selection is done from the delegates. And my first question when I got into the room was, I looked around and I said, where are the women here? Because out of 70 people, there were 4, I think a max of 5 women in the room. And when elections are done, the people are picked from the 70. So that means that the chances of a woman getting a board seat in that institution is a 0 point or just a 1%. And true to it, there's only 1 woman in the current board of about 12 people. So then it means that even in future, getting the representation in the board of women is going to be a very difficult thing. So women, and I asked one of the leaders, what's happening here? And I heard someone say, we've been trying to talk to the women to apply for board positions or get into the delegates team, and they are not doing it. So I throw it back to the ladies in the room. Is it we or is it the systems? Barriers to climbing the corporate ladder. Number 1, the glass ceiling, and I know this is a term that we use a lot, an invisible barrier that prevents women from reaching top leadership positions despite qualifications. Somehow something just keeps them. I have been in institutions where women decline positions at the top. And one of the reasons, it's going to be too demanding, and I have a family, I have children to take care of, I can't manage that. The pressure at the top would be too high for me as a woman. I don't need to travel. I may not be able to travel when they need me to travel. So some of these barriers, and also just the thought that those positions can only be handled by men. Some institutions believe that it's a high pressure position that a woman might not be able to take. That's a lie. So some of these are invisible barriers that we have. The broken rank, I know this was talked about a lot last month. Women are often overlooked for the fast promotion into management, limiting long-term advancements. So that culture where we overlook women and we are listing people in the boardroom and saying who else qualifies for this, who qualifies for this position, and all of a sudden the list has 7 men, 1 lady. We need to get out of it. Women, we need to step up as well. Work-life integration challenges, disproportionate caregiving responsibilities. Now, women are given to being caregivers, whether for the parents, maybe older or sickly. It happens that someone will suggest that let the woman give up her career and take care of the child or take care of the parents or take care of a sick relative. It's always the woman that's sacrificed, even some of the spouses will say, you just leave your job, quit your job, and take care of this and that. So that happens, and the woman gives up the career and gets there. So then the promotion and bouncing back becomes a bit difficult. Career interruptions, as I was saying, the maternity leave impacts. I think we are still pushing to have child care or these caregiving responsibilities recognized. And I tell women it is okay for you when you come back, when you bounce back from maternity, come back from caregiving or something, it is okay to mention that this is what I was doing for this time, because it is a worthy cause. It's something that should be recognized and honored. Gender bias and stereotypes, leadership traits often associated with masculinity, and that's what I said. Just the thinking that leadership, when you think of a leader, when you think of a president in this nation, hardly do people think about a woman. She really has to fight hard to prove that she can lead. The men don't fight that hard to prove that. I think it's a gender bias. It's a stereotype, because if it's qualifications they have, and we have that. If it is competence, we have experience, we have. So then that is a mindset that needs to be dealt with. Women are judged more harshly for assertiveness because women are also tough, they're strict, they are firm. And the stereotype is that, no, that woman might be more emotional, that woman might be this and this way in the leadership. And a man might, and unfortunately, maybe let me say this on this, Jay, that sometimes we are also the ones that judge the women. Women judge the women and say, I don't want a woman boss. I think I want a man boss. That said, I think we need to also, all leaders need to have emotional intelligence in their leadership. Emerging trends that are shaping women's careers. Now, flexible work and remote opportunities. This is helping a lot because a woman now, you can take care of your children and you can also be able to work remotely when you're still at home and work for other institutions. Hybrid work models enable better work-life balance. I'm not sure of why work-life balance. I think I prefer more to say integration, so that you're also able to integrate other parts of your life, your physical, your mental, and the others. But this flexible work and remote opportunities are they're increasing that participation of women in global roles. So you can work from here and work for an organization that is abroad and still be able to do a few things with your family and the rest of the caregiving, if you're doing caregiving. Now, rise of women in leadership. More organizations are now setting diversity targets. And such organizations are getting recognized. You've seen, we've talked about the EABLs and the others and the Safaricom in the previous slide, that it is important that institutions are intentional about setting diversity targets, and not just setting the targets, but ensuring that you meet those targets. In your recruitment, it's important that you prioritize that. Growth of women-led companies, it's now increasing, and I encourage the women in the room, when you be bold enough, register your business, take up a challenge. Maybe just to mention in this meeting, we have an ongoing project. If you go online and search for EK Wellness 360, we have a project that is coming up on mental health, virtual mental health. It's taken us, I think, a year plus with some of international people to try put that together. It's a big challenge, but I can tell you that as a woman, if you put your hand to something, you will do it. Despite the challenges, you will do it. You can put up a company and an institution that will go global, that will impact, because women naturally nurture. We nurture children and we nurture institutions, we nurture everything. So it's very easy for a woman to put up a business and ensure that there's life in it, ensure that things go on. The mentorship and sponsorship, formal programs. I sit in as the country chair for several institutions, global institutions. One is called the G100. Now that the leader, the president of G100 is Indian, but I think sits in the UK and different countries here and there. Now that institution, it has a target of getting 1 million women into leadership. What they have done is that they have segmented different categories, and this is becoming a very common thing. I joined another one called Accession Women, Accession. There's a G100. I sit in as a country chair as well. GSFN, that is a Global Sustainable Forum. I sit in also as a country chair. But this is the strategy to bring in women leaders from different countries, position them as country chairs in specific mentorship sectors, where someone can be in career, another one can be in health, another one can be. So the same G100 has quite a number of women leaders in this country. And once a year or so, you could travel abroad and meet as women. Now, those formal mentorship programs and other functions and events that you have open doors for you as a woman to meet global leaders. We have WhatsApp groups with people that we met in the UK, and you share ideas. You're also invited as speakers in other countries. So do not ignore those platforms. I am a mentor with a Bridge for Billions. It's a global platform where you're also able to mentor entrepreneurs from all over the world. You mentor people who are running businesses in the US, but you do it from the comfort of your home. Now, those form of mentorship programs will give you a stepping stone to something else. You need to also be able to network with people that know where you can get your funding as a woman. I also noticed online that women-led businesses do not receive as much funding, unfortunately, as those that are driven by men. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Is it how we position our businesses? Is it how we pitch for our businesses? Is it the composition of our leadership, or is it the business ideas that we have? Because I think it's a conversation, Jay, that we may need to have. Because as women, we need to look for businesses, not the copying. You know, there's a tendency in Kenya, to be specific, where you start an M-Pesa and I start one next to you, and we are all of a sudden we are 15 doing the same business. But being able to go for programs and mentorship programs for entrepreneurs, and being able to also look at the market, analyze the market, see where the business is going. I talked about STEM, looking at what you can do in STEM, looking at what you can do in health. For the ladies in the room that want to start businesses, look at what you can do in health, you know, beginning businesses that are solving a real global issue, a global problem, not just a local. It could be local, you could start local, but your eyes must be on the global platform. Maybe that's a conversation for another day, but that kind of a mindset will take you to the place where you want to be as a woman. It will position you in platforms where you speak a language that's not just local, but a global language. If you're building a platform, I am building a platform that's going to address mental health globally. There are also opportunities in the health sector, a lot of them in the health sector, in engineering. So as a woman, when you're building yourself, when you want to move up into your leadership, you need to give solutions that are global. You know, you need to speak a language of global solutions. You need to attach yourself to groups and forums of women. There are so many, they are countless, that are bringing leaders, global leaders from different countries together who have ideas that can help you move to the next level. Skills-based advancement, focus shifting from tenure to skills and performance, women leveraging continuous learning and certifications. Now, strategies for women to advance, build strategic networks, and that's what I'm talking about. Join networks that will push you to your next level. Networks that are made up of people who have been or who are where you want to be. There's nothing wrong with hanging around with people who are at your level, but I think it's more profitable for you to hang around egos. You know, egos will take you to another level. Egos will teach you how to go above the clouds. Egos will open your eyes, and the conversation that you're having will always be one challenging you to do something better. So seek mentors and sponsors for that. Advocate for yourself. Now, negotiate salary and promotions. Do not shy away from that. You know, people say, you know, if I go and ask for a promotion, or this is how they'll view me, they'll feel like I'm not comfortable with what I have. Or if I negotiate my salary, I might lose my job. You will not. And if you do, it's because they're not able to afford you. And it's okay for you. I have been in places where sometimes someone will offer you a pay and you're like, no, thanks. Maybe I can refer someone to you. It is okay. And it is very okay to know your worth as a woman. Know what you're bringing to the table and know how much you're worth, so that when you come to negotiate your salary, it is what you're bringing versus what they expect you to do. Communicate your achievements clearly. You know, when you come to advocate for yourself, know your achievements and know how those achievements align with the person or the team that you're speaking to. Align them to that and communicate them clearly. Now, develop leadership skills. I know you have had this enough times. Emotional intelligence, understand yourself, you know, be self-aware, know where your strengths, your weaknesses are, what you like, what you don't like, but just get to know who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Just know how to carry yourself in different settings. Decision making and strategic thinking, that I know you have heard that, but I want to emphasize on strategic thinking. You know, if you get into a room full of CEOs and chairmen and different people, the kind of conversation that you need to have there is a strategic conversation. I think there's a conversation and there's a language for every room that you enter. When you get into a boardroom, speak the boardroom language. When you're speaking to a chairman, one of my mentors is Dr. Nelson Kuria. And when I go for coffee with Dr. Nelson, just to catch up and just for the mentorship sessions, I know what to say. And I plan, I write down what I have to speak and the conversation that we need to have. Do not be swayed by your thoughts and your emotions into a low-level conversation when you're in rooms where people speak strategic conversations, because then that is where they will place you. They will remember a statement you made, you know, and you're feeling so odd in that room. And the conversation with CEOs in a room, they're talking about global markets, they're talking about expansion, they're talking about the laws, they're talking about where business is at, they're talking about budgets, they're talking about different things. So you need to understand and to know how to get yourself into a strategic conversation Confidence in visibility roles. Build your confidence. That can come through mentorship. It can come through training, but you need to also build your confidence. Continuous learning, upskilling in leadership, technology, and industry trends. Stay adaptable in a rapidly changing market. Now, organizations play a very critical role in enabling women's career growth. Implement equitable hiring. I know we have quite a number of human resource practitioners in the room. This needs to be done. Equitable hiring and promotion practices ensure pay transparency. This thing of negotiating salaries, keeping salaries hidden during interviews, I think it's imepitwa na wakati. It's important that when I do recruitments, because I offer end-to-end human resource consultancy services, and I do recruitments for different organizations, personally, that is a conversation we have from the word go. If we have shortlisted you, then it means you're competent for the job and you need to know a few things about this position. We will tell you our client is this person and this is what they're offering and these are the terms of the job, so that we are transparent. It's not a hide and seek thing. So if you're comfortable with that package and the terms and the location and the company and whatever they do, then we can be able to move with that conversation. If you're not, then we can shift that and maybe keep your profile for the future. Now, create inclusive workplace cultures. Cultures are different, but the inclusive workplace culture needs to be created now. This is very tricky. It's in those spaces where you say, I got to interact with a gentleman called Kennedy. Kennedy, I think, was a director at, is it Riziki? If some of you have interacted with Riziki. Riziki helps institutions in recruitment of PWDs, people with disability. And when Kennedy came to an institution that I was working for, we thought we were doing well, very well, actually. If you asked us on workplace culture and the rest, we thought we were doing well. On the systems, we thought we were doing well. On the environment, we thought we were doing well. The workplace, we thought we were perfect until he landed on a wheelchair, and number one, he couldn't access the washroom because there were trenches, and because for us, we were able to just move around. We thought that was number one. Number two, our desks were too high. He couldn't sit at any of our desks and work. They were not designed for people with disability. We had systems, you have clock-in systems where someone needs to just clock in and open the doors, and they're also too high, and this gentleman has to be helped around. So, but I'm simply saying inclusive in all ways, including the women, the gender, and different things. Just make sure that your workplaces are inclusive. Go audit your workplaces. Are they inclusive? Are we bringing in women? Are we encouraging women? Are we promoting the women in this place? What are we doing about gender? What are we doing about PWDs? What are we doing about different things? Provide leadership development programs for women. That needs to be done. And so what does the future look like? The trajectory is positive, but requires sustained effort. And I'm insisting on sustained effort. There's a tendency of us looking at inclusivity. We do it over 2-3 years, and then we forget and get back into the culture. More women in executives and board positions as the expected developments, stronger policies, relook at the policies in your workplace and see if somewhere, some of these things in the policies are so hidden that you may not also be able to see them. Just like cultures and practices within the workplace, where someone says, a lot of bias in things around women, like I remember someone saying, you see, you're in a boardroom and someone will make a comment that seems to favor men. It's not explicit. It's not really against, according to the people in the room, it's not really against women. But if you look at it deeply and critically, it's simply saying maybe we may not be able, if we are traveling to Mombasa, we prefer that so and so moves, or choose five men to pick to pull that item. Choose 3 men. Can we have men to just move this small table to that place? And I started thinking about it, and I said one time, oh, so does that mean that 2 women cannot move this table? It's got to be men who can move this table. Does it mean that women can't travel an international trip? Someone makes a comment and says, no, they need to take care of children. Just give that slot to men. Now, that kind of biasness happens in the workplace, and we sometimes don't even hear it because we are used to it. We don't see it, we don't pick it because we are used to it. So in your policies and decision making, please make sure that there's inclusivity. However, progress depends on cultural shifts, and that's what I'm talking about, because our minds have been so fixed and trained that a man can lead better than a woman. Now, Jay, with all due respect to the men in the room, we are not fighting the men, but we are simply saying that I think there needs to be a cultural shift, that a competent woman who is an accountant is equal to a competent male who is an accountant. And if there's a salary to be put on the table, then it needs to be the same. Organizational commitment and continued advocacy. The takeaway from this, women have made major strides, but still face systemic barriers, which we agree, and we need to change. Career advancement requires both individual strategy and organizational support. It's your responsibility as a woman to have an individual strategy. As much as the institutions are willing to support, you also need to know where you're moving, where you're going in the next step. What is that other role that you need to take up and challenge yourself, so that you're not fearing responsibility, you're not fearing some sacrifices that come with higher leadership positions. The future of work offers new opportunities, but also new challenges. Back to you, Jay. Thank you. Jay, back to you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that wonderful and insightful presentation. I'm sure the ladies in the room have had an opportunity to learn one or two things. And I will therefore welcome any questions. You can unmute, you can write in the chat section. What have we learned from this conversation? You can tell us in the chat section. We had Edith at the start talking about looking forward to, sorry, it was Esther, looking forward to picking a growth strategy for her career. Esther, can you tell us that you've been able to pick that? Anyone with a question?
That is Esther Wangai, not me.
Yeah, Esther Ngai, yes. Or not Esther Katiba, Esther Ngai. Anyone with a question?
Or a comment? Someone can add something. We are learning.
Question, comment, compliment.
Good evening. My name is Ivana Wafula. I'm happy to have joined. This is my second time attending.
Ivana, are you talking to us?
Yes, I am.
Good.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, Ivana.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so saying my name is Ivana. This is the second time I am attending conversations with Esther. I did so last week, I believe. And what I'd just like to inquire is, does conversations with Esther per se offer the mentorship for people who are looking into being in those strategic spaces and knowing what to do once in those spaces? Do you offer these services?
Yes, we do, Ivana. Please talk to us. I'll post my number there. But I'm also on LinkedIn as Esther Katiba. And if you send a chat on LinkedIn, we'll pick it from there. LinkedIn, Esther Katiba. Let's have a conversation. We will hold your hand and we will go together. Thank you, Ivana.
Thank you.
iPhone has learned a lot. Wangai can confirm that she's picked something, good pointers. Then Jerry says women are their own enemy. I have a boss lady who says she prefers working with men. Have no promotion for women. How do we go about this?
Wow, Jerry, I've heard that a lot, unfortunately. But I want to say that I think it's a narrative that we need to change. Women, I think this is a narrative that has been thrown to us that women are enemies of their own, possibly to just divide us. I am a firm believer that women are friends of each other. And I am saying this with full knowledge that other statement is something I've also heard that women say they better work with men. But I think we need to change that mindset. And for the women that are in leadership, I think we need to know how to also, not all have this problem. I need to put a disclaimer, but how to manage our emotions. I think that's usually the issue around this. We need to know how to manage our emotions because as you go higher, the pressure is going to be greater. The expectations for balanced life is going to be greater. And your leadership will be at the limelight. People will be looking at how you conduct yourself. I had a boss one time, a line manager one time who was a lady, and she had quite some challenges with managing her emotions. I mean, the outbursts were way too many in the workplace. And one time I said, you know what? Because you're the boss, imagine nobody's going to ask you for not coming to work if you feel like your emotions are all over the place. None of us has the guts to ask you why you did not report. So if you feel like things are just all over the place, please try and take some time off. And come when you've put yourself together, because we would know when she comes in and the mood is bad. Just like children in a house, we would all move into a corner and say, things are bad today. You dare not go to that person's office. So let's also manage. Let's separate work and family. and other issues outside work. I know we carry so much mentally, we carry so much. Men somehow have a way of, they have compartments, you know, they have compartments for family, they have another compartment for work, they have another compartment for social life. And so they move from one to the other. I think the weakness or this, that they are not able to multitask is also helps them. But for women, it's just like, you know, circuit. Everything is connected to the other. So sometimes we are not able to disconnect and move into the compartment of work. We tend to mix them. So let's just wisely know how to put everything in its compartment and deal with it at the right time. I think that's what I would say, as Njeri.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that. We have another question. Beatrice says that on maternity leave, you find that due to caregiving, when you decide to go back to work, you find that the jobs that were they offer women are affected by the gap of caregiving, are offered basically they're offered low salary. How should one handle this?
On maternity leave, you find that due to caregiving, when you decide to go back to work, is it the same place that you're going back to? Because the law says you should go back to the same position you're in, and terms cannot change. So if it's the same position you're in, then that is illegal. You're entitled to go. Actually, if the law protects the woman, especially on maternity leave. So you find that the jobs that they offer women who are affected by the gap, okay. Now, raising a child is something you should be very proud of. And a maternity leave gap is something you cannot shy away from saying. But that said, Beatrice, your qualification, your competence, you know, your skills do not change because you've got a child. You are still the resource that they need. So if people have to hire you for a certain job, the conversation is not about your children. The conversation should never go towards, and we shouldn't allow that as women, that when we're sitting and being interviewed, someone wants to make us feel guilty that we were raising a child. That should never happen. You know, if they're recruiting you, they're hiring you for a HR manager or a finance manager, and you're competent, you've passed through the interview and everything, then it means you're entitled to the salary that is allocated for that position. So do not be dragged into a conversation of making you feel like you're less equal to any other candidate because you are on maternity leave. Maternity leave is 3 months. 3 months, you cannot lose your knowledge. 3 months, it's actually a break that you should be paid for. But when you're coming back now, most institutions that do not want to pay you well, they'll start saying, you know, you have a gap of 3 months. Surely 3 months? Do people lose their competence when they go for 1 month leave? Jay, maybe you can help me, because I've never understood how my salary should be reduced because I was taking care of a child.
Unless now we say that by the time this person was proceeding for leave, maybe their contract had ended and now they're coming so that they can be reassigned new positions. But if you are in the same position and the contract was still ongoing, I think you'll come back to on the same terms.
Absolutely. But even if I am coming in for a new position, I am still the competent Esther that left. Unless that other position is higher, but this one says offered a low salary. I still can't figure out that. And women need to know how to negotiate. You are not negotiating. That's what I said about negotiations and promotions. You are not negotiating on gender workplaces. I think that needs to be underlined. When you get into an interview room, it's not about your gender. It is not being a woman that makes them pity you. What is on the table is not a conversation on gender, on children, on spouses. It's a conversation on your competence. So if you see conversations going that direction, you need to address it and say, excuse me, I think this conversation is basically on my competence to deliver on this and this. Because when people begin to push conversations in that direction, 99% is because they may want to renegotiate the packages downwards. So do not allow that. If you're competent, stick to a conversation that is professional. I hope that helps you, Beatrice.
Yes, I think I hope we are not locking anyone out. Anyone with a question before you finalize? You can unmute and ask a question. You can unmute and make a compliment or a suggestion or any topic that you feel we might really need to attach to this. For those that need guidance and mentorship from Esther, she has attached her number in the chat section. You can reach out to her. And as well on her LinkedIn profile, I think Esther, you can share your URL, LinkedIn URL, so that that's fine. So I think our team tonight are have been very attentive, and I'm sure they have been able to grasp the nuggets that you've shared tonight. And I believe that moving forward, this will be life-changing in our careers, in our workplaces, and I'm sure we are going to get to that executive table. So even as we wind up, I'm sure that what I always say is that as a professional and as a career person, you need to have a clear career path. Cynthia will share the recording. We'll share the recording. That is well noted. As a professional, you must have a clear career path. So if you're still talking about applying for any job, then this conversation has really been about you. So you need to show that intention and work towards achieving and sitting on the executive table. So with that much, allow me to close with the word of prayer. Or if there's any volunteer that would like to close for us with a word of prayer, I'll welcome that. Anyone?
Thank you, Jay. But let me say this. We will upload this on our YouTube, Conversations with Esther Katiba. So it will be on the YouTube tonight. Back to you, Jay. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, Esther. Anyone? You can raise your hand if you want to pray for us. If there's none, then let me close with a word of prayer. Let's believe and pray. Almighty and everlasting Lord, we want to thank you even for the opportunity to have had in the webinar. We thank you that whatever we've been able to learn and grasp, Lord, may it be impactful in our careers and in our workplaces, in our lives, Lord. Pray that, Lord, may you continue protecting and covering us with the blood of Son Jesus Christ, even as we prepare to rest and prepare for tomorrow, Lord. We thank you and honor your name, Lord. For those that have not had their dinner, Lord, and we pray that, Lord, may you bless and sanctify it, and may the meal be impactful in their lives, Lord. We pray this trusting and believing in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Amen.